everyone. Today we have J. Alexander Martin. He's founder of FUBU and CEO of For Us By Us Network Studios and Music Group. It's a Navy veteran, author, and business coach. He has a lot of hats he wears. He built a $1 billion brand and is launching new projects in 2025, including the For Us By Us Network app and a film studio. Y'all already know what to do. Let's give a warm We Talk Weekly welcome to J. Alexander Martin.
Oh man, I was excited about this. How are you, my friend? How are you?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, guys?
Oh,
Good evening.
Hello.
fantastic. Yes.
How are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Good evening.
This is an awesome interview. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, not a problem. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so earlier in today, I don't know if you watched our show, but Charles had made a comment about For Us By Us and how you all got your name, and LL was included in that. So you tell us from your your mouth of the CEO, how did you gain and founder of FUBU?
All right. So, again, everybody knows a guy named Damon John. We have to give him the credit for the name. Um, I was coming home from a Desert Storm, Desert Shield in the military. I got out on a medical discharge. Got a bunch of money in my hand, and I wanted to get in fashion. I was working for Macy's, and so a deal happened. Not to really get too much into it, and I wound up quitting. Damon was making a hat, had made a hat, and he kind of stopped selling it. He was selling it, and he had a label on it, and it was a name called FUBU. So he had stopped. He made a couple of hats, stopped. Made a couple of hats, stopped. And I saw it coming home because he was a child friend that came home and saw it on his kitchen table, and I said, "Hey, what's this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a hat. I sold a couple and whatever." I was like, "Yeah, but what's FUBU mean?" He's like, "FUBU means for us, by us. We needed something that was for us, that was kind of by us." And I was like, "Yo, that's amazing." And I said, "I'm going to FIT. I got some money. Let me turn this into a clothing line." And 1992, 30 something years later, 6 billion in sales.
Six. You
Say
said
that
six
number.
billion.
Yeah, I was gonna say that number again.
Yeah, six billion in sales. We a couple of years ago we pretty much tallied it. We became a tally of all the years of what we've done and all the sales, and it came about to that.
And how did you redefine urban fashion and that culture? Like what? Like I know that you just gave that story, but like I said, C had made a comment about LL Cool J. Can you
Mhm.
tell us how that got involved? Because FUBU is my generation, and it was powerful movement.
Well, LL's a childhood friend. Damon and the guys used to go on tour and kind of travel around him like a roadie. I had a different experience with LL. One of my childhood friend brother was his best friend. So LL was rapping, prior to he was in a group with two other gentlemen. I was in a group with two other gentlemen, and LL used to kind of come over and we see him as an older guy, and hey, he was rapping, and actually he was really good. I wasn't so good, but I had potential, let's just say. And he would kind of say, hey, say it like this, say it like that. You got to flow a little bit. So he'd help out here and there. Years later, of course, my rap career didn't go off. But my fashion career went off, right? So we approached him and said, "Hey, listen, you're doing big things. Hey, could you just wear this in the ad?" And he said yes. He said yes. But then when you try to track him down to actually do it, it was like, oh man, do I really have to do this? But he chose to do it anyway. And from then on, he was helping us from there on. And he gave us a promise. We gave him a promise. And he was, if, we be successful, we become successful, we'll take care of him. And we did exactly that.
Interesting, nice.
Fantastic. So
They
when
say that they say that black people don't help each other and all that, especially in bigger situations than others. But he actually came, and helped, and he didn't need to help us, and he did. He had bigger offers and bigger fish on the table, but he decided to deal with people like myself from around the way, and we both became successful, which is great.
Yeah, I want to know how you guys, and this is a personal question to you, right? Uh, the the culture of fashion has changed so much, but that's fashion, right? Fashion
Hmm.
change, it goes in and out. Um, it's a little different now, right? I have to give you guys the flowers, excuse me. I have to give you guys flowers because y'all was part of, I call it the golden age of like just urban fashion. Y'all was part
Hmm.
of that, you know.
Hmm.
The Carl Kanaz, the FUBUs, everyone that was in that kind of genre, you know, the hip hop era. You know, I think when we talk hip hop, we don't talk the fashion as we should. I think that needs to
Well,
be. Go ahead.
well,
Yep.
to, to jump in real quick, and I'm not totally sure where you're going with this, but I
Right.
want to say this before it even starts, is that it's called the fashion business.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm,
problem with today is people just look at the fashion and they
right.
don't
Right.
understand the business.
Right. 100%. 100. I 100% agree to that. That said, right, where do you think and like I said, I because I want to get an opportunity to give you guys the flowers, right? When we talk about just fashion and legacy of fashion, legacy of hip hop culture, and again, we just recently, I guess last year, 50 years of fashion. I mean, 50 years of hip
Yes.
hop, right? And
Yes.
you guys are right there also in terms of that hip
Yeah.
hop,
Oh
that
yeah.
fashion. You know what I'm saying? And so I do want to give you your flowers for that, because I
Thank you.
think you guys deserve that. And so when we talk about fashion, right, where do you, how do you see fashion now as opposed to how it was then in the culture of hip hop? If you do, you understand that question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, the culture drives you, the culture moves you, the culture gives you the trends, the culture gives you the ideas, the culture moves even what it looks like, the colors, the styling, everything. So without that, you have nothing. I think what happening now more so is the culture has gotten has been taken over by social media. And social media is an instant gratification, it's an instant I'm gonna make some money, or and it's not really people who are it's not 100% of predominantly with people that are really in the business or of the business. Um, they may be about business because they're just trying to make money, but I've gone to school for this stuff. I've studied it. I read about it. I have the magazines like from DNR, WWD, things like that. Like I am of the business. I am the business.
Yeah.
And what happens is again today, it's like all about just grab something from Alibaba, put
Yeah.
something on it, and then sell it. And it's not really about really understanding the business of it. Like it's almost like right now, I always say this and people look at me and go and laugh, but it's almost like they got the answer to the test, but they can't prove their work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the culture is what drives it. The culture was, but then I'd be looking at the culture. They're just looking at, look, if I see somebody else do it, I'm going to do it. If somebody says hammers are selling, I'm gonna do that exact same thing.
Yeah.
So, but then there are a subset of people that are actually still going to school, still learning going through the process, still working, but you know, uh, it's limited. It's limited on how much recognition that they'll get.
So you mentioned uh, places like Alibaba, right? And that brings up, for me, that brings up the conversation around sustainability and fast fashion, right? Because that's one of the biggest in industry. I'm an image consultant and wardrobe stylist, right?
Mhm.
And so I've been in the industry just as long as like maybe about 20 years, and I see how fashion kind of goes in and out, and it changes and pivots, and it does this thing. I haven't seen anything like it is today, right? In terms of in terms of how social media push the idea of what fashion is, what some don't even have a clue but think they have a clue what fashion is, and that has a lot to do with social media, right? But when we talk sustainability and we talk about fast fashion, I would love to know your thoughts on that, You know, is one better than the other? Is there room for places like you mentioned Alibaba, but now we had the Fashion Ovas and the Sheins, right? Skims, and which I won't put that in fast fashion, but we have these offshoots of, you know, new microwave, you know, stylish kind of like quick designs, right? Versus the master tailoring. You know, what's your thoughts on all of that? You are directly in that infrastructure, you know. So I think it would be good to hear your thoughts, you know.
Well, my perspective is this again. Fashion is fashion. You know, regardless of what it is, regardless of how you make it, or regardless of what comes out, it's still something that someone could wear, and it's still, you know, how you interpret it as far as how you style it. You know, you can wear somebody could wear a sweater and it could look totally different from how somebody else is wearing a sweater, and they could be wearing the same sweater.
That's right.
So that's not a problem. Fashion is always going to, you know, either trickle up or trickle down. Most times for me, I think it trickles up. It comes from the street. It comes from us. When it comes from we're talking about my type of fashion.
Yeah.
Now, there's always that European, you know, because I used to go overseas all the time and go over to Europe and Asia and Germany and Dubai and all these places and see what people are wearing, see what the fashion is, and get it first, and then interpret that, come back home and interpret that. So that's always going to happen too. So all these stores are doing is taking that,
Yeah.
making it faster and putting it in the stores quicker before the actual bigger brands can do it. So that's the actual real meaning of it. But as time goes past, you know, if you tell somebody one thing, after 300 people hear it, it's not going to be the same thing.
That's right.
So again, I go back to the fashion business, you know, and I go back to, and I take it all the way back to the magic shows, and when it was
Magic and Project. Yeah.
tons of us, you know, with millions of dollar boots, and we pretty much took over the, you know, the fashion business, you know, of that. And then I go backwards. Before that, you have your Carl Canais and Cross Colors that was selling more clothes than anybody at the time, you know. And then we can go beyond before that, where someone was knocking off, you know, the Gucci's,
Yeah.
and creating, as a tailor, creating other things. So that separated fashion. If we go back to that, fashion from there was, we saw that, you know what, we can actually create our own thing. We don't have to go off and knock off anybody else's stuff, or we can create our own. And once we saw that, and I guess we got to look at the leader, you know, who really showed us that hip hop fashion could be something, and why, or hip hop culture fashion could be something. And of course, that would be Carl Kanai, through the birth of Cross Colors. And then, of course, there was tons and tons of other brands that came along with us. But again, I never say that we were the best brand, best looking brand, or the best, hottest fashion per se, but we were the best marketed. And then again, marketing is going to win every time.
I want to delve into that as a business mogul. And I know fashion is a business, but just for the business side of it, what strategies have helped you sustain the relevancy that you've had for these many years that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, one strategy that I always, you know, live by is, you know, it's the fact that I have more vision than goals. Another fact would be that I necessarily don't follow what everyone does. I pretty much try to make my own route, so then I can never be wrong because no one else has done it. And like I said,
I
the
like
thing
that.
about marketing is you really have to really, really, really pay attention to your customer. You have to understand the psychographics. You have to understand the demographics of all that, of your customer, your consumer, and then know where the market is going, know where fashion is going, know when you could push a trend, know when you got to pull off a trend. Uh, know never be too good at what you do. And I say that in fashion because you can turn around and think that this is the greatest shirt ever made, and you can go in back and forth in it and make 20 different colors, and then that stuff will be left in the warehouse. So it's a lot. I mean, listen, I could be all day giving you these situations.
What's interesting is you mentioned colors and you mentioned, the shirts. And as we are kind of coming out of the winter era, right? A lot of us wore sweaters. And that's a transition to understanding the connection that you guys had with Coogee. As Biggie said it, black and ugly as ever. However, I stay Coogee there. And
Yes,
so
yes.
I would like to know what inspired that collaboration, and where are you guys with Coogee right now? I still have like some sweaters that's 20 years old. Because of how dynamic and the materials that it was made out, the dynamic
Well,
colors and
I'm gonna tell you
patterns. And
something funny.
yeah, for sure.
Back in the days, we used to go to Philly a lot, and you couldn't get a girl if you didn't have a Coogee sweater on.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the girls had on Moschino, right? It's funny. Yeah.
You couldn't get a girl. It just wasn't
It's one
happening.
of those things, no doubt.
I
That's
don't
why
care
we
what you
used
had on.
to.
You just had to have a Coogee sweater on.
You remember them days, Lady Esther?
I'm sorry, you talking to me?
The, another I was actually married during them times, so I can't really say like I don't remember them times. But I was asking Lady Esther.
I remember those times, but I feel like I was very young during those times.
Okay.
No doubt.
It was a lot of the older ones that was doing that stuff, wearing that stuff. I feel like I was in like elementary school or something when that was
Did
happening.
that. We had them as kids though. Everybody had on Coogee, the Coogee hats, the Scullies, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. Martin, I just wanted to know, like, what inspired that collaboration, and what are you guys doing with that particular brand today?
Well,
I
listen,
still think
we're
it's-
still moving it.
Okay.
What we did over time is what people do today, and we've been doing it so long. And it's funny because we don't necessarily, to me, I don't feel like we ever get the credit for it. Not that I'm asking for it per se, but we don't get the credit for being first to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
We've done these collaborations. We bought companies. We've owned about 5 or 6 easy, other brands. We've consulted other brands. We've done so much with when it comes to the fashion business, as far as being a business.
Yeah.
Because again, you can have a brand and it could be doing well, and it could all of a sudden, just like the bell curve, go up and go down.
right.
So you need some other brands that can help you. And then when you want to be when you're on the shelf, you want other brands that be around that can be around you to help push you up when you push down.
Yeah.
Or when it comes to finances, okay, so the budget, you have a budget, use another budget to push another brand, or vice versa, or however it works. So it really was a business move. Find the brands that people like, or find the brands that you may think that are falling, and bring them back.
No, I love that. I love that. What collaborations, or what are you guys doing now as it relates to the direction of FUBU?
Well, previously we had a company that because we licensed our company out for years, and just as of the contract was over, and instead of us renewing, we decided to take it back in house and basically start back with the original 4 guys, and come back and put something out. So hopefully, if all works out right, barring anything going wrong, we should have some stuff out early spring, or summer/summer. But I mean, sort of to answer your question, it's how do I say this? Business is hard. This is not for the faint of heart. To be an entrepreneur is probably the hardest thing. Probably one of the worst businesses, or worst things you can choose to do. You're better off just getting a job sometimes. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're stuck in it. You're gonna keep going. So, like I said, business goes up, business goes down, and we're just here to try to figure it out. We've been in business so long, we know it like the back of our hand. But again, the customer has changed. So
Yeah.
we've gone from three, maybe almost four
Yeah,
generations of
that's
people
right.
that we've been around or that has touched or worn something up from us. I mean, for God's sakes, we have scrubs now.
Wow.
Oh
You
wow,
know,
I didn't know
so
that.
we've touched just about everything there is except furniture. But
Mm.
we're looking to get into hotels, and that may be happening soon, thanks to one of my partners, Carl Brown. Keith Parent, of course, he has the radio. Damon John, of course, is doing big business when it comes to Shark Tank, and of course, myself, I have a ton of things going on.
Do you have like comforter sets or
Yes, we have.
throwers?
Yes, we have sheets and bedding. Yes, we have sheets and bedding as well.
Awesome.
Can you speak a little bit to your marketing strategy? I know you guys have been doing this for a long time. You seem to have a lot of great ideas, and I don't know if it's because you just have these ideas, or is it a lot of it come from your experience? But are you heavily involved in your marketing strategies, or do you have like a whole separate marketing team?
No, no, we so what happened for me is that, of course, we've had it in-house. Everything for us is always in-house. We never really have
Okay.
anybody outside of that. We'll have people come in and give us proposals and things like that. But it just never could get that feel of who we are because who we are. For us, by us, FUBU is us. So we know we are the customer. So someone coming from somewhere else, they don't really know because they're not the customer. They just analyzing what they think they see in the marketplace. So for years, we would tackle that or go back and forth with people giving us things, but we would always just figure it out on our own. I think with marketing, we've picked or we've been able to get big moments, and big moments just happen to us. Like for instance, like with uh, a rapper will just biggest rapper there at the time will just pick up and wear it and do a almost do a commercial for us. Now we didn't give it to him; he just did it on his own. So a lot of times, I think the influence of what we've done and who we are for so long, as epic or iconic as it is, people just want to flourish to that, go to that. I don't. I thank it. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate all of that. Second is what I've done is I have taken control of media in my own hands by creating the Forest Bias Network, Forest Bias Studios, Forest Bias Music Group, and with that, now I'd be able to market on my own. I can be able to, create a movie or create a series or
Yeah.
create a reality show and put it on the people, or the people that star in it, and advertise, subliminally. So of course I put it in the right moments, right scenes, things like that. But I've been able to do that, or do commercials, because where now I don't have to go to the Facebooks and all that other stuff, and then I've built a large following, on Instagram and things like that. So I don't have to go to the blogs and pay them $20,000 to where
Oh yeah.
years ago I would have to pay the magazines. Now I've created my own ecosystem to where our people follow, and I just farm it to them.
At this point, you could probably have your own magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yes, yes, that too. But
That
magazines is
ecosystem
sort of a thing of the past,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, it
It
the
is.
is.
ecosystem changed.
but
Yeah.
there's a way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The digital magazines, but I think what you're doing is great, and I want to fast forward and talk a little bit more about kind of like your radio, television, and film. That genre or ecosystem that you're in right now that you're building out. What is that like, and what are some of the projects that you're working on that to amplify those things? Yeah.
Well, okay, so I just came off a season of a show called, and again, don't shoot me, but again, you got to come where they come, and you got to do what they do, but you have to do it in your own way with your own spin. Um, it's called Side Chicks of LA, which was a show. And it's funny because I'll tell someone it's the side chick in LA and they'll go crazy. Oh my God! But I'll say, "Did you watch it?" And they'll be like, "No." But they'll already go, like watch it first just to see. And when you see it, you're like, "Wait, it's not even what I thought it was." But it's still good, but it wasn't what I thought it was. So a lot of times, you like I said, if people love reality, and you got to do what
Yeah.
you do. But it's not the type of reality where every 5 minutes somebody's fighting. Of course, there's a little cattiness. There was a little bit of fighting here and there because that's what people do. But it's not the as soon as it comes on, people are boxing and trying to kill each other
The ratchetness.
and the ratchet stuff. So listen, everyone has a little ratchet in them. Everybody got that aunt. Everybody. So I got to show that stuff. I have a movie coming out called The Biggest Boss. It's about Rick Ross and Freeway Ricky Ross, how Rick Ross got his name.
Oh,
It's the whole
nice.
story. So
The
that's
real.
coming out. Our app should be developed and done. Hopefully, I should have that out by the late March.
Did you
Um,
say Rick Ross or the
Rick
real Rick?
Ross, yes.
And it's about what now
It's
with?
about Rick Ross and Freeway Ricky Ross. So it's how Ricky Ross actually got his name.
Oh wow, nice. Because I know it was some controversy at one
Yeah.
point with those two. And he's also in the cannabis business.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tune into that.
Yeah, so it'll be on the app. We'll launch that. I'm also doing the Hip Hop Business Awards in Memphis. The date is August 13th through the 17th. So, and we're basically showcasing, highlighting how some folks, icons in the business, taken the culture and moved it into other spaces, and actually has expanded hip hop throughout. One notable person is a guy named uh, um, Don Poole, who owns more than a few restaurants. Now became a restaurateur. So if you can understand what I'm doing there.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's
Nice.
great.
Shout out to Freeway too. Freeway told a story. Philly Freeway
Yes.
Right.
told the story about how he actually reached out to Freeway, and was like, "Listen, this is I would love to. Do you mind if I utilize the name?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's all good. That's how you supposed to do it, though.
Right.
Reach out like, yo, I want to give you homage. Is it all right for me to, Rick Ross, that type of thing." And so, shout out to Freeway. Shout out to a lot of the things, all of the things that you're doing, man. It's just, it's a doggy dog world out here, right? And so, for you guys to continue to be as successful as you are and keep it going, I mean, it's hard out here.
Well, the key to staying is being vertical, and the
That's right.
second part of being vertical is whew, it's just being persistent and keep. A lot of people, you start today and you end tomorrow, and a lot of people today are what they call solopreneurs, what I call solopreneur. You know, you're never going anywhere if you're going to only stay and be a solopreneur, because again, you're the only employee, you're the only, and you can't work like that. Like people don't know how to scale or know what it means to scale. You think you have, I'm doing business. You're not doing business. Like you're not, right? My brand. No, you don't have a brand. You just
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, understanding that's things that you have to develop. It takes a little
Right. It
minute.
takes
Yeah,
it takes a second. It takes
yeah,
years to
that's
develop a
right.
brand.
That's right. That's
Because
right.
there's things that happen for you to be a brand.
So you have done so much. Uh, what is it what's the legacy that you want to leave?
I
Or
don't stop. That word is an ending word, even though
right.
I think it's a lifelong thing where you're just going, and I'll say legacy, but it's never stops.
Right.
Like I'm weird. I just don't stop. I just keep trying to move the needle, try to move the needle. Again, as I mentioned earlier about not having a goal, I'm
Right.
more of a vision person. So the visions just keep going and going and going. The goal, you get to the goal. Oh, I did it. Now you got to stop and
Yeah.
create another goal. I never get to that goal because I'm always going.
Got you. Got you. If you had, and fair enough, if you had someone who is looking at you, right, as a young man looking at you and saying like, "Wow, I would love to follow in the footsteps of Mr. Martin and his successes and building businesses. And what would you tell that young man?
I would tell him to go follow your father. Don't follow me. We could talk about business and we could talk about exchange ideas because my plan and what happened, how I did it, is how I did it, and that's why I'm successful. So you have to follow what you do for you to be successful. My blessings already been done, and my blessings will continue to be going. You have to follow your blessing.
Right, right.
So when a lot of times when people go look to see be what someone else is, no, be who you are.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I'm gonna push back I'm gonna push back just a little bit in, coming from an era, right, where we had or we looked up to the old heads, right? We looked up to the OGs, right? And we whether that OG was doing, I mean, because if we're being honest, it was the crack era, right? And so
Oh yes, it was.
we looked up to them flipping birds, and it's like, yo, I want to be like, whether it was right or wrong, right? But it was this a younger generation looking up to an older generation where they saying you had some that's like, young buck, come with me. Let me show you how to do this. Others was like, yo, I'm gonna put you in trouble. I don't want to care, so I can stay out the way, right? And so I bring that up to say that, in terms of a small pushback is it may be a young man looking at you that's from, Harlem or something, that's from, the Bronx, that's like, yo, everything they did, I loved. And Mr. Martin, I really like him. So I want to talk to him. What would you tell him? What would you tell that guy?
Again, I will go back to the same answer, but
Right.
I'll twist it because the question was kind of moved up a level.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, if I'm sitting there talking to someone and they need some inspiration, fine, that's not a problem. I'll give you inspiration. But if in order for you to be successful, you have how I was successful. I was successful because I went my own way.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't have anybody in front of me. I didn't want anybody in front of me because if somebody's in front of me, I got to wait for them to tell me what to do next.
That's right. That's right. That's
Right? I can't fail because no one has ever done it before. So I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
So I just always push people to just go find their lane and keep moving. Right? As some of these younger people say, get your tribe and build with your tribe and keep moving. Now, again, like I said, I'm here. I'm an open book to tell you everything, I can tell you. But I always say too, if somebody comes to me and says, oh man, I want to be an entrepreneur, what do you think? Well, an entrepreneur wouldn't ask me that question.
Okay. Okay.
I also hear the Navy veteran in there, the discipline of, I guess when you're in the military, it's like self-sufficiency.
Yes. Well, yes, self-sufficiency, but we live by a rule of paying attention to detail. And I say this, when I speak to the military every once in a while, I say to them, we have this thing where if we make a mistake, somebody dies.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, military. Yeah, for sure.
So, and I can't. I have to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy because that's a different way of thinking, right? And that's a special way of thinking, right? Because some argue, right, making mistakes help you grow, right?
Yes, I 100% argue.
Right,
Yes,
right.
that is so right. But
Right.
that teaches you A, B, and C.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it teaches you A, B, C to get to that point. But when we on the battlefield, or I was in the Navy, or I'm in a ship and I'm on watch and I fall asleep, I'm
Yeah.
jeopardizing everyone.
That's
I can't.
heavy. Yeah. Yes, that's heavy. That's heavy. Geez, man. One thing we always say on the show is once you come to the show, you're always welcome to come back. And I think, of course, I would love for you to come back because I think you have this wealth of knowledge, this legacy knowledge. You know what I'm saying? This legacy knowledge that is important for people to continue to hear, right? Because as you say, it's kind of like, it's kind of like, a butterfly, right? It starts out as something else. It starts as something, then it comes out the shell, then it becomes one thing, and then after that life cycle, it goes to something else. And that's kind of like how you and your businesses are. If this I'm doing this, but I have to keep moving. If this is that life cycle has to move, and I have to support that, and it's this Tetris of building, and I think that's.
I like the word Tetris. I'm gonna use that one.
Yeah, there you go. Please give you a round of applause for that, my brother. But I think it's interesting because even in Tetris, the blocks aren't perfect.
Right. Correct.
They're not perfect,
Right.
but you have to fit them in a way, and sometimes they don't go in perfectly.
Right.
But you build until you can make
Right.
it perfect, right? And then
Right.
you go to the next level. And so that's how I see you, And so that's why I say, like, I always like to get, especially men, when they're doing great things, because often the perception of how we're looked at isn't the perception of what it should be, right?
Right.
It's created for us,
Right.
And
For
so
us, by us.
yeah, for us, give you another round of applause for that right there. It's created
Yep.
for us, but we need to make sure that we control that narrative with some of the things that we doing. So, my brother, I just appreciate you for coming on. And like I said, anything that you're doing, let us know. Especially like some of your movies, call us out. Like we'll come up, show up, do a junket or something like that. Some of your grand openings and all of that, the music stuff, the radio. Let us know. We'll come up in Philly and represent. That's kind of like what we do. Is there?
All right. So
any-
listen, when I come to Philly, I'm gonna hit you up so I could
sure.
be in the studio.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Leslie linked us up, right?
Yes.
Leslie, yeah. No, she'll make sure that we're gonna bring you right in the studio, man. And some of the things that you're working on, we'll make sure that why don't you look? Don't come up as a guest. Come up as a co-host and do the full show with us.
I'm with that too.
There you go.
Awesome.
There we do 2-hour show, 8 to 10. We want you down here, so we're gonna schedule that. My brother, really appreciate you, man. How can they get in contact with you and all that good old stuff?
Everybody just does the Instagram. So the letter J dot ALEXANDERMARTIN J dot Alexander Martin. That's for the Instagram. If that, some people maybe not have it. I don't know. If not, if you're still working with a website, it'sjalexandermartin.com. Simple as that.
You know what? Real quick, this is something different I want to do real quick because you've been in the industry so long, right? Tell me a story that was like one of the stories that was like the craziest story from your time in the industry, like doing clothes and everything. What was one of those standout stories that you was like, yo, I will never forget this?
I began to say it, but I stopped and didn't say it. But I'm going to go backwards to the point of when I was working at Macy's. So I was working at Macy's. I was doing the clothing at the same time, and I was very good at styling. And I used to have like a line of people come to the section where I used to. I didn't run it, but I was self-proclaimed ran it, but I didn't. But they would come to me to have me style their ties. That's why I worked in the tie department. And it was ties from like $300 on down to $19.99 or whatever, right? Long story short, I used to work all the time. I wanted to be a buyer. That was my thought. So I was like, I'm going to work, and they're going to see how hard I work, and somebody's going to get me into the merchandising program. Long story short, as a manager there, the tie department, Ken called me in the office and said, "Hey, listen, I got to write you up because look, we thought, he's basically saying I tried to steal a tie. Now the tie was $19.99, half off, and then half off of that, and then with my discount, so the tie, if I'd have bought it, it'd have been like maybe $2.99. Let's just say, right?" Long story short. So I'm telling them that, like, why would I steal a tie that I could pay $2.99 for? Well, I'm gonna steal a tie. I'm gonna steal one of the 300 joints, and I'm not gonna wear it, but I would steal a $300 tie, not no $2.99 a tie. And he was like, no. I was like, please don't write me up, because if you write me up, I already got the merchandising manager. He kept saying, I'm gonna keep an eye on you. I'm gonna check on you. And I was really trying to move my way up and get in the buyers program. I quit. And I said, the next time I come back into Macy's, step foot in Macy's, I'm gonna be selling to you. Now, fast forward, the next time I stepped into Macy's, I was in Macy's window, and we did a display. It was we were just getting to Macy's, and instead of us doing a regular display, we were actually in the window, all four of us, and we were doing a live display,
Live mannequins.
live mannequins.
Wow.
That was the next time I was back. I was in Macy's.
Wow.
Were the same people there?
No. So this Macy's was in Long Island, and the Macy's we were in featured in was in Herald Square, 34th Street.
Wow, that's a great story, though.
It's a great story. Yeah, we got that in the archives now. Shout out to Jay Alexander, man. Listen, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And like I said, once you're on the show, you're a friend to the show. So we're going to have you back as one of our co-hosts next time you're in the Philadelphia area. How can I get in contact with you one more time?
The letter J, Alexander Martin, at J. Alexander Martin. The letter J, not J-A-Y. The letter J, Alexander Martin, orjalexandermartin.com.